All right, I think it's streaming now. YouTube is always, it's always, uh, it's always a learning experience. It's almost like Bash. All right, I think this is going now. Let me just rearrange things just a bit. It likes to resize the windows for me. All right. So this is part 2, and hopefully the epic conclusion of Bash completion, implementation for the command line utility CppDock. CppDock is a dependency, well, basically a build and dependency manager for C++ that it operates, creates Docker images and runs them for doing development of C++ applications. And the idea is that eventually it'll be easy to get bootstrapped, compiling multiple targets on a remote machine, because the machines that I have are little i5 processors, or it's my gaming machine, or I'm streaming with it. Although that's what I've been doing in the past, is I compile Clang on a Linux boot on my gaming rig, but that's not very convenient. So that's why I made CppDock and the command line utility, and I'm gonna, this time my head should not be blocking, but you call CppDock and then you give it a command. This looks not working. The completion isn't, but if you just type CppDock and it'll give you a list of the commands. There's build, dev, init, dev registry, install dep, install source, and dev cluster, and the underscore complete, which is the command that handles all the complex logic that we have for coming up with what it should complete as, because doing it in Bash is a pain. So here's our Bash script over here. You can see it's a function underscore CppDock complete. I don't even know if they call them functions, they call them commands. And it assigns a list of words to, or an array of words, to this comp reply. Oops, and I need to init my keyboard mapping again. Alright. So comp reply is some magic variable that's used by Bash completion as kind of like a return value, and it has to be an array of words that it's expecting to complete with. And we're using this compgen utility. And just to go over again real fast, you can give it a list of words, foo, bar, baz, and then the last option is whatever it's being complete with. So we could say B, A, and then when we run the command, it gives us a list of the possible matches for completion, which would be bar and baz. And let's say we give it bar, just gives us bar. And interestingly, if you give it bar or anything, it'll always give you bar after that. So that's something to be aware of. So yeah, we call that here, and it gives us, I guess, an array of words, or I'm sorry, a string of words, and we just convert it into array. That's why it's wrapped in parens right there. But the Bash stuff is my lack of knowledge of Bash, and a lot of its idiosyncrasies are cause for what caused my stream yesterday to be about 2 hours. Actually, a little more than 2 hours. So here it's just a one-liner, and it registers the function CppDock complete for CppDock. So I have to source that, not just run it, but source it so that it runs in the current shell. And so CppDock -complete.sh. So now now that I sourced the file, I can try CppDock tab, and it gives me a list of the commands. And it's getting the list from Python, the Python script itself. CppDock is a Python script. And it's good to specify things in one spot. So we're specifying the list of subcommands in the Python script. So here it is at the top. It's a global array, static. Static as Python gets. and so we just give it a bunch of words or strings of the subcommands. And then we have this underscore complete command, which is just like an implementation detail. People wouldn't call this themselves. Yes, I have coffee today. And they wouldn't call it themselves, but it's used by the completion script as a way of dispatching to get a list of commands, subcommands. And then after the subcommand, I want it to have, I want it to complete the name of the platform or target that they would be building or creating a dev environment for. So build dev. I think dev cluster takes it too, but it doesn't. I'm not going to worry about that today because that is an experimental feature right now. But so the build and dev command I want to have auto completion for, so that they print the list of platforms. And the list of platforms, so a project would have a CppDock.json file. And so it has CppDock attribute that just has a list of project-specific stuff, like in this case the project's name is Nibdal. And then it has an attribute platforms, which is a list of platforms. And it's a key value list. And each platform, each key is the name of the platform. In this case, it's develop. So this is for a library. And then there's another one called web develop. I think that's the only two platforms I have. So it basically builds an application that's targeted for a specific platform. So in some cases, you would have the server side, which would be, the platform type would be Linux. And then for this one, web develop, the platform, the target platform is a web browser. So we use the Emscripten compiler. So I just have the platform type named Emscripten. And here you can see it specifies a base Docker image that has a special compiler that I'm using. It's a fork of, Emscripten is a fork of Clang, and I forked that to include my own little language feature that I've proposed for C++. If anybody's interested, it's P1221. And there's going to be, hopefully soon, a video released for it for the presentation that I did at CPP Now, or C++ Now, the conference in Aspen. And maybe next week, I will be improving that implementation in Clang, live coding, because I have some ideas for it. So right now, it would just be nice to be able to get a list of the commands auto-completed and a list of the platforms auto-completed, so you could at least see a list and you don't have to type it out every single time. So the command is working, or the subcommand. So like in this case, we got build. But after that, when we hit tab again, it gives us the list of subcommands again, and that is not correct. So what we need to do, I've seen some of the bash scripts that do this. They're complex, and for me, it's error prone to implement any logic in bash because they don't tell you when a variable isn't defined, or if you have some white space issue, it just assumes you're trying to call a command. And that's what bash is good for, is command line stuff. So we're going to do this logic in this Python script. So there's this dispatch function that calls the different commands based off of the arguments you give it. And there's this complete subcommand, and you may notice it's not listed in the list of subcommands that are auto-completed here because we're filtering out the commands that have a preceding underscore. because it's an implementation detail. So you can see this function in Python. It's command complete, and it is what's called when you call that underscore complete command at the command line. Is that on the large? Yep. All right. And I was outputting to stderr to output, like do printf debugging, so I could get it in the error output so it wouldn't be consumed by the bash script and cause it to affect the behavior. So what I do is I check if the length of the arguments is 3, and the arguments is just here. It's in the dispatch function. So when they call complete, it calls command complete with the result of this second function in these tuples or these pairs of functions. And in this case, it's just always returning the command line arguments, argv, which is similar to the way it is in C and C++. So that would be the name of the command and then every argument after that. So in this case, it's CppDock is 1. The complete subcommand is 2, and then the third one would be the subcommand, so we want length to be 3. And that's why I have it commented, documented here, because I keep forgetting about that. But that was kind of a hang-up at the end of yesterday, is that it wasn't 3, or it wasn't behaving as I was expecting it to. Well, right now it's just printing out, or it's just always defaulting to the list of commands. So I would expect that the list of args, right now it's still 3. Yeah, so that's the problem here. Is that CppDock build, that's 1, 2. Yeah? Maybe it's supposed to be, oh yeah. Calls it with complete. From bash. That's where I keep getting hung up. So it calls, let's just pretend it would be, right now it would be 1. And not including the complete subcommand, which is hidden. And yeah, so we need a way of knowing that the subcommand itself is complete and they're on the next one. And it should complete the next command, which would actually be the 4th argument. But we don't see it yet because they haven't typed anything. So if I did build F, it would see essentially 4 things. And it doesn't autocomplete anything anymore. Which is surprising. I mean, it's either 3 or it's foobar bez. There's no other possibilities. So that's why I had that std error output. So we're gonna put that back in there. And we have to install it. Sudo make install. And try it again. CppDock build. Oh. So it prints the args out, but it did not do the autocomplete. I wonder if the std error output is messing it up. Because it's not behaving. Maybe I didn't install it from last time. Let's try that again. CppDock. Build. Tab. And that worked. Tab. But when I do write to std error, CppDock tab. It's like I have to hit tab twice. I don't understand that. So outputting to std error changes the behavior. That's frustrating. I wonder. We'll have to Google why bash. If there's a way to filter out std error, or why it even includes std error at all. So bash command variable assignment. Not std error. I guess. Sometimes knowing what to Google is like the biggest skill you could have. How to store standard error in a variable. Alright. That's great. So they're piping it using the same thing that I use when I pipe the Vim. That's the same exact thing. So I pipe the Vim and I want to filter out std error. Or no, I just want std error only. So only std out only. Well, nobody wants to care. The idea that there's no results for that makes me think that that's what it is by default. Nobody has that problem, except for me. When you find a problem that other people have, you know you're on the right track. There's no way to capture both without temp file. Anybody who's done this stuff knows that. I just have to keep learning it over and over again. There's no way to capture both without temp file. Yeah, so it defaults to capturing std out only, as far as I understand. Maybe the problem is that outputting std error causes something to get flushed. Or, I don't know, that doesn't even make any sense. It's flushed. Bash completion debug with std error. Has anybody else tried that? How do I debug bash completions? If nobody's debugged bash completions, either nobody's written bash completions or it's really, really easy and I'm just making it more hard than it seems. Or more hard than it is. My coffee's not hot anymore. Just log output from bash completion functions. As they're most likely no rocket science, this should be fairly easy to do. Might be possible to connect bash db, but it feels unnecessary. If you set to X either the interactive session or autocomplete script itself, every command and its results will be printed out. Huh. Well, let's try that. That's something I was unaware of. CppDock tab. So it runs the command, or it prints out the commands that are run. So, it's calling. Where's the plus sign coming from? It's calling CppDock plus. I don't know what the plus sign means. Comp reply equals comp gen CppDock complete comp words. That's just printing it out. It doesn't really tell me what it is. What if I did this? Echo comp apply. Oops. Whoa. Source. CppDock. Now it's just going nuts. What is all that stuff? Oh, right. Set plus X. Yeah, that's a little noisy. Source. CppDock. Alright. CppDock tab. Just, alright. And apparently if you print anything out, it gets caught. That's interesting. So this is more fiddling with just bash today. Tab build. So it prints build out only, and then it just it stops. This comp applies an array. Can you just print an array like that? This is a mistake, stepping into the bash's domain. Part of me thinks that it's just printing the first element in the array. Let's try this. Foo equals the result of the, so foo would be a string before we turn it into an array, and we're just going to turn comp apply into array, basically broken into an array. That's how you convert it to an array. Source. Alright, CppDock. Alright, now it's printing out the entire string. But still, because it echoed something, it gets hung up and it never finishes executing for some reason. By the way, that guy said it was not rocket science. The completion script for Git is supposedly like 2,500 lines of bash. And they wrote it in bash. But that's like the Linux people for you. They probably know bash. Says I have one concurrent viewer. I wonder if that includes myself. It's hard to say. I don't have it open. I just have the live dashboard open. So if anybody's there, ping me in the chat. Be chatty. This morning, coffee time. I'll try to make sure I watch the chat thing this time. All right. Alright, so what happens when I do, oops, don't hit tab, don't hit tab, don't hit tab. Alright, now hit tab. Prints out the same thing. Oh. So the args that it's receiving don't include build, which is surprising. What's surprising to me is it says CppDock again. So comp words. I got a different set of headphones and they have those annoying squirrely cables that get tangled up with everything. Comp words. An array. Maybe that's my problem here. So I need to know the difference between the data types. One's an array, one's a string, and they behave very differently. An array variable consisting of the individual words in the command line. The current command line. Comp line is the current command line. Maybe I should just be using that. So comp words is likely just a convenience. Which is surprising. What do I want to pass? I want to pass it the whole command line. Comp line. And this other stuff at the end, I'm not entirely sure why that's there. You know what? We're going to save that because I have a feeling. That we might want to just have a special way of specifying what's currently being typed. That's the last thing. I guess we'll find out. So I think I have a hunch that we can just get rid of that. We can just replace this with line. Source it. Oops. Unexpected info. Oh, too many. What's going on here? It's not honoring my comment. Or there's something open and it's thinking that the next thing. Oh, that's the quote. You know, when I first started doing CoffeeScript, it was like crazy. There was all sorts of like dead space and you couldn't make heads or tails of it. I'm sure Bash is the same way. You just gotta get used to it. I'm not recommending CoffeeScript. It's kind of old news. C++ is the new hotness. The new C++. CppDock tab. Prints out the right stuff this time. The first time without... Oh yeah, it's because I'm echoing it. I could probably get rid of that std error output. Oh. That makes me think it's not actually doing the completion stuff. Alright, so I totally expect that to be like that. But if I type build space tab, it has build in it now. Well, no it doesn't. Alright, I'm calling it twice. Wow. You know, I think I can get rid of that. I'm just being airheaded lately. It's costing me time. CppDock build. Right, but now it's not printing anything out. Let's get rid of the std error because it just can't handle it for some reason. It was meant to be a way to output stuff without confusing Bash, but that didn't exactly do what I was expecting. It confuses it quite a bit. Alright, tab. Alright, so it was kind of nice when I was printing it out. So it would be here. It would be well, the arguments that it's receiving. Hey, you know what? It shouldn't be receiving those first two. That would simplify things. So I want a range. And how do you do that in Python? It's 2 colon, which I guess is element 2 and then the rest. Here it's 1 colon 2, which is just the first, well, it's element 1 and Oh, do I need to look that up? I don't think I care. I just want this. So normally I care, but I'm trying not to waste a lot of time today. Because we gotta get this working. In an hour. Because people don't want to sit around and watch me fiddle around and learn Python. Because they could just Google how to do ranges. Sub-range of a list. Alright, so we're just gonna give it everything after the first two elements, so that would change that to 1. I'm just gonna source it just in case. Need some kind of continuous integration for this. Alright, CppDock. Or like a dev script that runs everything. So there's no questions. BU. I'm gonna say it's gonna behave the same way. Yeah, so now it has 2 items. It doesn't care what the second item, if it's complete or not. So it moves on to the next thing. So what I need to do is see if the I wonder if the command comp line has a space at the end of it. Because that's what we need. And hopefully Python has a way of accessing all the arguments, even with the space at the end. I have a feeling Bash is fine with that. Let's see if Python can access get command line input. User input and command line arguments. Raw input. Let's read user input. No, I don't want an interactive prompt. What is raw input? Input. So we're using argparse and get_opt, which it takes argv. To read user input, you can try the CMD module. For easily creating a mini command line interpreter. You know, it's nice when they put like CMD dot raw input, so you know it's not like some user-defined function. That's why namespaces are good. Because it's like, what is input? I don't know. Apparently it's a component of CMD module. And raw input for Python 3. We're using Python 2.6 or 7 because it's lightweight. It's only like 90K or something, I think. Whereas I think Python 3 is much bigger, and it's not installed by default on most systems. I would sooner convert this to C++ than convert it to Python 3. We're reading a line of text from the user. In fact, I was usually using, instead of JSON, I was using YAML before this. But it was such a non-trivial dependency. Because you have to have pip. You know, maybe a lot of people do, but this isn't a tool for Python. People shouldn't have to have a complete Python development environment just to use a tool. Or at least I would like to lower the threshold for entry by not requiring that. Command line inputs are sys to argv. Yeah, we know that. Look at this. With help texts and auto-completion. Let's just click on that. Maybe that's what we're looking for. If the prompt argument is present, it is written as standard output with a trailing new line. Ah, so like it's interactive. I don't necessarily want that. I just want stdin. Well, no, that's not even stdin. I want the command line. The function reads a line from input. What is input in this case? Is that stdin? So I guess they're being platform in specific here. It returns that when EOF is read. Yeah, so this is just reading raw input from what I'm guessing as stdin. Get command line. Wait a minute. What is this command line? When we clicked on that, that was the Python. Right. They have a list of the commands. CMD is support for line-oriented command interpreters. It's a module, right? Oh no, this is... Well, if it was the same thing, it would have RV, right? No, it does not. So CMD, it's OS.sys argv. os.sys. I would like to be platform or portable. Alright. Google.os.sys. Should have just googled Python os.sys. Let's look right into the horse's map. Oh man, we got 2 viewers. Come on, people. Send a chat. Just say hi. Don't be shy. It's okay if you don't send a chat. But it would be cool. I'm just talking to myself. Assuming maybe somebody will watch this. Other people might watch this in the future. Or at least this is the foundation for things to come. I'm just kind of staring off into space here. Command line. P open command. No. That's for... Wait, what is this? We want os.sys, right? Is there a page for just that? Is it... Did I just name it sys? No, I did not. There's OS and then there's sys. Why did I do that? I'm using os.sys. There doesn't appear to be anything like that. It's just great. OS system is actually a way of doing a system command. Python os.sys.command. argv. Let's find the manual page for that. Is there such a thing? It's just sys. Apparently it also belongs to OS, but they don't document that. argv. They gotta have just the command line. Such a simple thing. I was gonna say, well, that would be really easy in C++, but now that I think about it, get command line input. Command line arguments. I don't want to click on any of these. Well, Bash has a way of getting it. Built-in call tracing copyright. String containing the copyright pertaining to the Python interpreter. That's just great. Command line. So anything other than RV has anything to do. Don't write bytecode. Great. Exit. Well, I don't think that the space is going to be included in args. And I need to know that. Bash knows that. I could possibly pass that information to the complete command. That would require a little bit of bash logic in the bash script. What if I just pass the whole string instead of... Yeah, let's do that. That's really simple. Kind of a no-brainer if you think about it. So instead of passing comp line, we want to pass the string. Hopefully you can escape. So we're going to pass it as a string. Which means we're only interested in the third argument, or element number 2 in the args. It's amazing how long it took me to break down and do that. Dispatch. So we only want the third argument. And we want to get the length by breaking it, splitting it out by the spaces. Split string. It's funny how the Python manual is not the first result. Maybe that means it's not very good. Oh, people just prefer this website, apparently. Because they don't mind the advertisements. And the CPU fan going nuts. And, you know, being prompted to sign in. But it was the top result. That means the people have chosen. Split method returns a list of strings after breaking the given string by a specified separator. Now, if there's a trailing space, that would be interesting. We could use that to detect. The is a delimiter. The string splits at this specified separator. You know, I could just bash documentation all day long, but that would be like throwing stones while living in a glass house. Because I didn't even have documentation. If is not provided... Wow, I'm sorry, but we came to the wrong website. Yeah, you can't even go back. What are they doing here? We just went back to the Google results. W3 Schools is a reputable source of information. Or at least it's easy. Text.split. Split method splits a string into a list. You can specify the separator. You know, if you want the right information, sometimes you just gotta do it yourself. Foobar bash. Just try it out. Let's do a space at the end. Split. Dot split. Space. You can specify the separator. Default separator is any white space. Well, we're interested in any white space. So it splits it up. Splits it up into the distinct words. It does not include an empty string at the end, which is surprising. Well, it's not surprising. There's a space at the end. I don't think changing the max would help. The default value is -1, which is all occurrences. No, it's not, because it does not include the last occurrence if it's trailing. Alright, so is there an ends with? I'm not even gonna look it up. Ends with space. Any white space? I kind of want any white space. But you know, well, it could be a tab, I guess. Would it be a tab? I don't think it allows tabs. So we're just gonna do ends with space. And hopefully that's just good enough. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna call this arg_str. And we're gonna take arg_str, splits, we don't care about, we just want any white space. Split args, and then has trailing white space. It's WebSockets also. Let's just say trailing space args dot. That's a pretty verbose variable name for that. Oh, I just saw somebody chat, and I have it on ultra low latency now, so maybe it's not 10 seconds delayed. Not sure if this is helpful, but the 0 index of argv is going to be the path to the module, if I'm not mistaken. The module. It's... So here, if it behaves the same way as C and C++, the first element, 0, is CppDock. So if you want the first command line arg, it would be index 1. Right. So that's where I was getting hung up yesterday too. So right here, it appears that you would see element 0, CppDock, the subcommand would be 1, right? But as it's seen from the, as it's invoked from the bash script, we have our implementation detail thing that, because when we pass it to this complete, it gets dispatched because we gave it _complete. And then after that, I was just giving it whatever occurred after that. Now I'm giving it a string of just the whole command. Yeah, and that would not include the _complete. Yeah, so 0 would be the command, 1 would be the subcommand, and that's what we want for this. So if it's less than 2, we have to do less than 2 now, right? Because if it's 0, length. If it's 1, less than 3. If it's of length 1, and they do autocomplete gets called, we want to give it a subcommand. If they have a partial subcommand, we also want to give it a subcommand. So for now, we're just going to check the. We're always going to give a subcommand if there's 1 or 2 things in the element. I think that's correct. maybe you're seeing something that I'm not. I've been kind of flying blind here, so I guess we'll see here in a sec. And I need to get in the habit of checking over here, just to make sure my head's not covering something important. But oops. Well, when we just run that, we get build. Let's just give it F. We get foobar biz. Nope, video looks good, everything's visible. Great, thank you. Feedback is good. Alright, so that's as expected. But if we have build, and let's say we click tab, it's giving us the next thing, and that's the problem we're trying to solve here. So there's a couple cases here. One it could be the prefix of it could be a complete command and the prefix of another command. So we need to find out if there's anything in there that is not a complete command. And that might require writing a function. So we're just going to do that here. Filter. Remove. Complete commands. Yeah. Args. This should be the array. And we want to get the subcommand. Oh, in fact, we're only interested in the subcommand. We would only call this in the case that we're processing a subcommand. So let's just do this. Subcommand. So subcommand might be here, might be complete, it might be incomplete. And we're just going to look at the list of commands. We're going to filter it. Let's see, return. You do return in Python, right? I'm pretty sure you do. Yeah. All right. Return. Subcommands. It's funny, you know what? I do specify things in two places. I have the subcommands array and the subcommands. What is this? Associative array? Map? Dictionary? Whatever words you use to describe that thing. So an improvement will be to make it specified in one spot. And I really don't think none is a thing here. I think I can get rid of that. Right, so subcommands. As we learned yesterday, filter. And it's down there too. Filter subcommands. You give it a function first. Lambda str. Str is a very verbose name for a lambda, variable for a lambda. Alright, so this might not need to be a function, but because it's so simple. If that word exists, so we just want an exact match. Is it an exact match? str might be a reserved term in Python. Ooh. Well, it's not a keyword. So there's a difference between keywords and other words. A keyword is always right out if you use it. At least this is kind of the way it is in C++. But any other word can be overridden by some like scope. List of keywords. Once again, you don't see it in the manual, you just see like program whiz. str. It's like in the case of a built-in type like int in C++, I think that's actually reserved as a keyword. Well, it's not a keyword, and I haven't had an error with it yet. But I guess that could be confusing. I like my lambdas to be an f of x. fact, they should just make capital F a keyword. That would be not backwards compatible for anything. Where was I? Oh yeah, we're trying to get rid of all words that are exact match of the input subcommand. So is it equal? We just want an equality thing here. Can you pass? Is that how Python equality works? Python. Foo equals foo. Is there an EQ function? EQ is not defined. You know what? If there was, I'd probably have to import it. So we're just going to do x equals subcommand. And really, you know, we're filtering this, but we just want to say, is it complete? And it may be complete. We're going to say needs completion. So the list would be length greater than 0. Yeah. And so in this case, oops. Needs completion equals that. And you know what, we're gonna mutate that. Needs completion and I'm just gonna assume and is a thing. Wow, now I just have to look it up. Python logical and. Yeah, I bet you that double ampersands doesn't even work. Needs completion and args ends with and not. And you know what? Whoops. We're doing that backwards. If it has a space at the end, subcommand equals well, this is getting hairy. It's not that bad. Subcommand. Well, it's always going to be args 0, right? Because we split it up. No. Let's just get rid of the first one. Like that. The first element should be the subcommand. Nah. That's a little simpler. That's assuming there is a subcommand. Or it's an empty string. Yeah. This is me just brain farting on logic here. Either args1 or empty string. How are we doing on time here? It's been an hour exactly. I haven't even finished my coffee yet. It's cold. Alright, so... let's not make things confusing here. So there might be a subcommand, there might not be. Really, we just want to... it might be an error to look at that. If args len args is greater than 0, greater than 1. It's always going to be 1, at least. It's either, if it's 1 or 2, we might be processing the subcommand. And let's just call len args. I really doubt that it optimizes that either. That's actually or. That doesn't even make sense. If it's 2, it's equal to 2. Yeah, that's it. Process subcommand. Complete subcommand. Complete subcommand. Alright, so that's all. That's a decent sized chunk that can go in its own little subroutine. If it has trailing space and not has trailing space. One issue with doing it this way is that we're always going to have to give it a list of words. Because that's what the bash script does. It's always a list of words. So we can't have like a directory name. Although I don't know that there is a... there's no use case for that. So we can fix it if there becomes one. That becomes an issue. Alright, so... I might use that again. Alright, so complete subcommand. Return. Alright, so this needs completion thing can go up here. Looks like we're doing the filtering here. And I already know that there's no trailing space. But if it's complete, I guess we just return nothing. So needs completion is just, it's not even necessary if it needs completion. You know, that's kind of documentative, but instead of needs completion, it should say Has incomplete candidates. And that's just as good as a has incomplete candidates. Of course, we need that information. Incomplete candidates. That's why I was doing that. Incomplete cans. Because I don't like typing out candidates. Maybe I don't know how to spell it. Candidate. As long as I'm consistent. Even if it's consistently wrong. So we know we don't need that again. We just, if it's greater than 0, return list of words. Oops. Incomplete candidates. Wow, I know we're doing that somewhere else down here, right? Here. So we don't need that. So we can actually return something. Return. Nothing. I guess. Because there's nothing to complete, and I wonder how it's going to behave when I do that. Alright. Complete subcommand. I hate having or commented out code, but sometimes it's easier than trying to go back and look to see how you did something, which in this case is something very simple. All right. So if it doesn't complete subcommands, well, we would actually look to see if it's 3. And, you know what, we're just going to roll with the static test stuff. Sudo make install. Wow, it's been a while apparently. CppDock. I'm just going to run complete. Well, let's just try it with nothing. Alright, so if I do complete, attribute error list object has no attribute ends with. Wow, really? Command complete. Args ends with ooh. So wow, so we need to pass has trailing space. And that's that makes sense because Command, no, this is command complete. RxSTR. I was just referring to the wrong variable. I'm just gonna do the local one, so CppDock complete. No trailing space. Well, did I call the wrong? Yeah, I did. I called the wrong one. The local CppDock complete tab. What? August, yeah, should be a string. Oh, there's nothing there. So apparently it's none. I wonder if I can. But I'm actually explicitly specifying. Or an empty string. Oops. Now I changed that so it fits on the screen, but now I gotta go back. Ah. For xk, 4xk. Do that enough times and you'll be a master at something you only ever have to do once in your entire life. CppDock underscore complete. Oh, it's jumping right into barbasfo. Oh, that's because I'm actually tabbing on underscore complete. I just wanted to see what happens when I run it by itself. It's an error. Yeah, that's why. Okay. Index error list out of range. Oh, great. For argv3. What is a safe way to get an element from a list? Or a reasonable default? I know there's a way to do it. Get element from list. Safe. Safe list get. Are you kidding me? Is that the only way to do that? That's not the only way to do that. Get value at list array index or none if out of range. Well, they just use a ternary. Is that? I know I was doing that somewhere else. But I wouldn't even remember where to look. So that lambda would only get longer and longer and longer. So I'm just gonna put this ugly little function at the bottom. And what is it supposed to do? Give me element 3 or what die trying? Get complete completion string. We're just gonna make it not even take any. It's just gonna give us the static value. If maybe I should put this up there. If OSSys argv like this greater than 3, greater than 2. Wait, they did it in a ternary. That would be a little more concise. That is old news. You can use an iterator. Next. Oh, that's just complicated. And error prone for something so simple. Alright, so else. And length of argv. So yeah, I think that's too big for the lambda. But so is the name get completion string. I could use the args parsing stuff for this. Why don't I do that? That would just be a little more uniform. Parse. We're just going to make a function. If we have to make a function, might as well be parse args completion. Parse args complete. And the only thing it takes is a single thing. Just going to copy this over. I want it to be at the end. Yeah. All right. CppDock complete. There is no shell only command. It's just a required argument. Just get rid of that. We'll call it completion string. Just call it completion. And why not document it? All right. Ah, wow, I am so dumb. It would always pass it something. And the fact that I'm making it required just makes it silly. Just I was using it as an implementation detail. Oh well. Add shell only option to be called by CppDock dev. Wow, I feel like I want to go back and just make this simple again. Oh, we're just gonna comment it out for a minute. Till I'm confident we don't ever want it again. So it'll always be there. Yeah? CppDock complete. It's always going to pass it whatever the user typed, which is always going to at least have CppDock in it. Now I have a rogue else somewhere. It's not surprising that I had some code. I don't need this anymore. No. So arg3 is always going to be there. Always. unless the user decides to use this on their own, which they should not. They should know better. It has a preceding underscore, and it shouldn't even be documented. We'll have to figure out how to parse args. How to make it hidden. All right. List. List index out of range. What are we talking about now? Is that the same thing? RV 3. We were talking about this earlier. It's 2. Yeah? So 0, 1, 2. Is that what you were talking about, Cody? That should have been 3, I think. Alright. And now it thinks that so args str is just of length 1. So we want 1 or 2. Yeah? Does it have trailing white space? We don't even know. In fact, we're supposed to give it a string here. So, if its length is 1 and it has trailing white space, yes. And oh, this feels so dirty. Else? Oh? So there's 2 conditions that result in the same thing. Just because it would be pretty verbose to have it all on one line. Or we need to parenthesize that. I'm pretty sure. So that's one honking line of code, and I don't know that that's way too long. Can you do it on the next line in Python with that? Not liking you. Invalid syntax. Doesn't like it. Wow, that is... How do you even do that? Python. Conditional. On multiple lines. I'm not the only person that had this problem. You don't need 4 spaces on your second conditional line. Maybe use 3 spaces? White space is more flexible than you think. Maybe I have to wrap the whole thing in parens. It looks like he did that here. It uses a backslash here too. I was almost thinking that. What if we could have it on the same line? Bam. Invalid syntax. Something about... Oops. Maybe that was the problem the first time. Nope. Alright, and this should just be and. I think I deleted the and instead of the not. List index out of range, args 1. 173. All right. All right, so wow. All right, so wow, we didn't need it. We still needed two different conditions. LF. Well, let's just give it all of the subcommands. Duh. You know, I turned the fan off so my coffee wouldn't get cold, but it got cold anyways, and now I'm just hot. Alright, so if it's just one thing, we just give it the list of subcommands, and if it's got a second thing, but it's not complete, not necessarily complete, then we do this complete subcommand, subroutine, function. I wonder if it should be an error if they have something invalid and they try to complete it. It should just print everything out. Incomplete candidates. What if we did this? So there's no incomplete. Now let's just leave it that way. Let's try it. Nothing. Should return. Why is it returning? We're not supposed to return anything. We're supposed to join. I'm not sure why I made it return anything. Complete subcommand returns. But we're not interested in doing that. In fact, if we just want to print it. Okay, that will print it. This will print. That returns it. This is the one responsible for printing. And I could make a return, or I could just make it completion equals completion equals, and then at the end we just print it out. That way we don't have to do an early return. S completion equals bam. Alright, well, look at that, it works. Only it's including complete because because I'm not filtering out the underscores. Where was I doing that? Did I delete that? No, it's right here. It's coming out. Well, candidates. We're just gonna make our own subcommands. I don't really like calling it the same name as the global, or I guess I give it the underscore to disambiguate. Oh yeah, and I think it would override the why do I have it listed here? Doesn't even make any sense. We would never support completion on it. Yeah. Well, here's an opportunity. These are all functions. This doesn't even need to be in the scope. So we're gonna put that commands thing in the global scope. And I believe the way when you define a function, it's hoisted, so you don't have to forward declare it. We're gonna get rid of this none thing and hope that doesn't break anything. Subcommands. Yeah. And subcommands equals, and this is like the kind of upfront processing you don't want to have at the beginning of every invocation of the script. The commands thing is inside the dispatch function, so it would, so there's no problem putting that at the global variable, but assigning subcommands should happen inside the completion stuff. Let's get rid of that. Oh, did I not delete it? Alright. Commands. So here, subcommands equals, now we want all the keys. Python get list of keys. Get list of keys. How much money about .keys? Alright. Great. So, subcommands is all of the keys of commands without the underscore. And then we pass that to complete subcommand. Where's that called? Subcommands. I don't need, yeah, I do need to do that. Okay, that's, where else am I using subcommands? Anywhere invalid. Ah! Oh! Get subcommands. Yeah, so I could just do it at the top, but I'm gonna put it in a function so it doesn't get run no matter what, because we only want to run it in 2 scenarios. Wait a minute. Parse args command. What is that? I have to run it no matter what. That's not that bad, is it? Nothing like having a global variable. The only issue I have is initializing it happens every time, no matter what. Well, I should have taken a break. I wanted it to be done in an hour. My hands. Mostly my wrists. Ah, there we go. You might need to use the backslash. Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, you're a day late. And all short there, Cody, but you probably typed that and I just wasn't paying attention. args1 will be out of range if len args equals 1. Yeah. I think I addressed that. Yeah. Yep, you're right. That's why I ended up breaking it into 2 separate conditionals. Sorry about that. I wish it would ding or something when there was a chat. Just need to get in the habit of checking over here more often, but then I'm not. I don't know. There's no reason for not to. So subcommands. Where are we assigning subcommands? Don't tell me I deleted it. Here it is. Did I spell it differently? Oh, there's an underscore, that's why. Alright, so we're gonna just make global variable subcommands. As much as I hate doing that kind of stuff. It'll get run because we want to provide it to parse or add argument. It would be interesting if you give choices something like a function instead of an actual list. Then you could lazily evaluate it. And this is a common issue in C++, which is solved by metaprogramming. But a lot of times, processing stuff like this in C++ is just really fast, so you don't worry about it anyways. For a command line script, it stinks to have to process that stuff every time for just altered, views on static data. You want to specify something once, and then, you run functions on it. So I could just make this a static list, and that would be a lot cheaper. But I think the value of specifying it once is enough in this case. So we don't need to pass it subcommands here, do we? No. Candidates. Back to subcommands. Yep, that time we're just filtering it based off whether it's a match. Invalid syntax. Maybe I have too many parens up there. Yep. Why did that not show up in the syntax highlighting? Command init. Did I delete something? It's not defined. Command init's not defined. Why not? Oh. Oh. Oh, wow. This is a chicken and the egg type of problem. Well, I guess I could put all the... The problem is this parser thing. I guess that was a mistake breaking that out. Get commands. What happens if we do that? If we wrap it in a function, is it going to throw up? Command is not defined. Huh. Alright, so that's a way of lazily doing things. Def get subcommands. Get subcommands. This must be frustrating for Python people to watch me do this. Because the whole idea of this was supposed to do bash completion. It's not rocket science. But the problem I encountered is a very common one in dealing with static data. So now I call this function, and I'm not even gonna worry about memoizing it. That's ridiculous. Get subcommands. So we're gonna just call get subcommands more than once. Get commands. Get commands. Is it looking for a global commands anywhere else? What is going on here? Was it like that before? Command equals parsargs command. Command in get commands. Oh, if command in get commands. Ah, I see. I wonder why in isn't highlighted. Subcommands. Back to candidates. Subcommands equals get subcommands. Although I could make it a global variable after all those functions, that's just not my style. Commands is never defined. Commands equals get commands. For command and commands. Only join an iterable. Join. Really? Oh, so the operand of join. Subcommands here. What is subcommands? Oops. I wasn't returning anything. Now, it's totally throwing up. Argument command invalid choice underscore complete. Invalid choice. Where does it make that choice? Was I looking at subcommands? So the distinction between command and subcommand, there isn't one. Command is just essentially an object that contains a subcommand, the command function, and the parsing function. So that's just the jargon. Where does it say? Where does this getting this invalid choice stuff? Is that my code? No. Argument command complete. Choose from. Up. Get commands. Keys. Alright, there we go. Oh, it's actually printing the commands now, and not the underscore completion. That's really annoying that you have to specify it as a choice. Why was I thinking that I could just say choices? So I did a lot of that. Maybe some of that stuff I did was for not. Alright, so wait a minute. Alright. Dev cluster. Let's give it a B. Oh, it's an error. Complete subcommand line 169. Where are we at time-wise? We have 15 minutes. I'm gonna end this in 15 minutes no matter what. Because this is just... I think everybody gets the point, but it's just me mucking around. Oh, look at that. There's a comma there. Complete subcommand needs a list of candidates. Object type int has no len. Guessing that's right here. No. Incomplete candidates. It's a length. It's not supposed to be a length. I was... No, it's not displaying anything. Right there. Alright, so that's a case. If there's no trailing space, so we got like a Cartesian product of stuff here. If there's a trailing space, I'm not even gonna worry about that right now. If there's a space, it does it correctly. But if we start typing in something that's correct, it's apparently not finding it in the completion candidates. And maybe that's because, does that work? Alright, now it just prints everything. If the subcommand oh yeah, so we actually have to check to see if it starts with to give it a valid value. Where's that starts with stuff? You know, we should be coming up with a list of candidates. So alright, so there's one arg, a trailing space, candidates. It's just all the subcommands. And in the case of this, candidates, is the filtered list of things that are not equal to, but then I also want to filter out the things it starts with. Starts with. So it's not equal to, it's going to filter it out. That's just a quick pass. Then we do another pass that filters it out based off of whether it starts with. That should work. Maybe that's not the most concise way of doing that. I guess we'll find out. So complete subcommand can go away, I think. Wait, what's args1? Subcommand. args1. args1. Nah, subcommand. Alright. So we didn't need a function for that. Okay, that's... you know what, the starts with thing. Let's just do that at the end. Yeah? Unless subcommand is empty. Oops. This is just iteratively improving code. Very, very slowly. Join candidates. I think it's a little more readable now. I'm gonna get rid of that. I could use composition here to filter twice, but that gets hard to read, especially I noticed in Python. Because of the return lines and stuff. I need a dot. Somebody get a dot. I need a dot. Local variables. Local variable candidates referenced before assignment. Candidates. How do you figure? What line is it? 163. Ah! Alright, str has no attribute. Where am I using str? Str object, so it's a type. There's no attribute starts with. Are you serious? X starts with. Why not? I spelled it wrong. Start with. Oh, it worked that time. D E B. Or you could just press enter at that point. Alright. Now it looks like that's starting to work. In the case where you don't have anything, including a space. And I'm just giving it a string. Alright. So defaults to foobar and Baz, and that's our makeshift, whatever the platforms are. That hopefully is easy getting the keys from the platforms in the JSON file. Alright, so in the case where len args is 1 and not trailing space, we don't even need to check that at that point. Candidates equals subcommands. Yeah, that's not even a case. Because completion would not get called at that point. So we're going to sudo make install and actually test it with the completion and verify that that doesn't get called like that. CppDock D tab. Again, I think I'm screwing up the indexes of args. What is args? Print args. Just CppDock. Which makes sense. The length is 1. Oh, wait. No, that's right. D. Alright. CppDock D tab. Let's do the str thing here. I just want to know args str. I'm confident in the joining of that. Oops. Sudo make install. CppDock D temp. Not like that. Args str. Why did I call it arg str? Arg CppDock. Why is the D not there? So a comp line. It's not giving me the right information. Did I do all this code on the false premise that I can get the entire command line argument as a string? That is upsetting. Comp line, the current command line. Oh dear. Args str. It's just CppDock for some reason. The current command line. Bash completion comp line. Oh man, I was assuming I should have printed that out to start with. Current command line, the variable is available only in shell functions and external commands invoked by the programmable completion facilities. In Bash, if you have a file, my file text, and you can edit it, this completes the file name automatically. Not all commands except file names you may want to be able to do SSH myho tab and have it complete. Alright, so that doesn't explain what comp line is. Isn't that what the question is? Comp line, comp line. Well, learn from my mistakes, I guess. As described above, see bash variables. Comp line. Current command line. This variable is available only in shell functions and external commands invoked by the programmable completion facilities. It doesn't say what command line is. The current command line. It's not the entire command line. It's just the first thing. Am I just... I remember printing it out before. I don't think I would have gone so far. Echo comp line. T10. It didn't echo anything because comp line is not an actual variable. CppDock D temp. Once again, nothing. What is going on? Oh. Comp words. Comp line. Comp line is apparently CppDock in this string. D tab. Wow, I'm just frustrated here. Comp line doesn't contain anything. When I echo it, and it contains CppDock. Let's try commenting out the SD error stuff. Ah, look, it did it. The error output screwed it up. CppDock D tab. 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 Man. Huh. Command complete. Args str. Why am I even messing with that? 0, 1, 2. Oh. Let's try that set X thing again. Tab. So it's very noisy. And it calls CppDock underscore complete, and then in quotes, CppDock D. But there's it's passing into separate things. So I'm not doing that right. Set plus X. Source. Comp line. CppDock complete. Comp line, which has just for kicks. Oh well. This is just a mess. It's not rocket science. But it's apparently something that isn't going to give up easily. Not with that fight. I'm not going to fight it for hours on YouTube. So I think I'm just going to finish this offline and not waste a bunch of bandwidth and stuff and people's time. Yeah, that doesn't wrap it in quotes. How do I make a quoted string as an argument? Bash call command quoted string. He's using single quotes here in his question. Arrays are useful to keep your parameters whole. And then invoke it exactly like this. Some magic stuff. Without additional quotation. And you can run the saved command exactly as is by expanding the array inside double quotes. Oh well. Yeah, I'm quitting. Sorry. I'm gonna tackle this later today, but I'm not gonna stream it because it's just let's call it a failed attempt to live stream implementing bash completion for CppDock. So I'm gonna finish it. I mean, it's embarrassing to say that I couldn't finish it. I know I can. I guess I need to concentrate and I'm just gonna do it offline. So for anybody who sees this, thanks for watching. Thanks for the feedback, Cody. And I'll catch you next time. Next week, I'd like to do some hacking on Clang, where I'll show you some more embarrassing mistakes I've made whilst doing that. But I'm going to make a more simplified version of a hygienic macro for C++ that I've proposed. It's P1221 if you want to check it out for WG21, the standards committee. And thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.